Refineries around the world have begun to close as petroleum consumption falls. Gasoline consumption, petrol consumption is going down. In fact, bankruptcy. Here's the story of 2020. And in fact, here is the story of the future of fossil fuels. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. In 2020 alone, more than 100 oil and gas companies declared bankruptcy after the coronavirus pandemic caused some significant financial issues. And this just gives us a good idea of what's going to happen in the future as everyone buys electric cars, or at least the majority of the world buys electric cars within the next 5 years. That will be a similar situation as what happened to these more than 100 companies that went bankrupt. And it'll create a similar condition where the demand for petroleum, the demand for gasoline, the demand for petrol will go down so much that more and more companies will have to declare bankruptcy. 46 exploration and production companies and 61 oil field service companies filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2020, according to Haynes and Boone, a Dallas law firm tracking bankruptcies. The 107 oil and gas bankruptcies in 2020 were the most since 142 bankruptcies were filed in 2016. I mean, that's 250 bankruptcies in only 2 years, but it's only going to get worse over the next few years. And as you can see here, refineries around the world are beginning to be shut down because consumption of oil is actually declining versus the production of oil. Production of oil is massive. Companies keep on thinking that oil demand will increase. However, in places like Australia and Europe and even America, renewable energy is being built out incredibly quickly. Even China, where everyone says that they're burning lots of coal, which is true, even in China, they are using so many and deploying so many renewables, batteries, and solar that their consumption is slated to have already hit peak. In fact, we hit peak car consumption in 2018. And since then, a growing share of the automotive industry is going electric. What this means is that oil and gas companies will get hit hard. This will crush demand for crude and petroleum products such as gasoline and jet fuel. Unlike past downturns, oil and gas companies have been under increased financial pressure after many investors pulled out of the sector in 2018 after years of low to middling performance. Several energy companies said they are forced to file for bankruptcy after tenders have pulled credit lines as revenue has dried up. And the truth is as well, many of these oil and gas companies are finding it harder to get more credit from banks. Banks are saying, that's a risk. That's a big risk. Not so sure we want to lend you hundreds of millions of dollars. We want to extend your line of credit for something that is going to see less and less demand over the next decade. Over the past 3 years, solar prices have declined by 46%. Battery prices have declined by even more than that. More than a fifth of the bankruptcies in 2020, 14 exploration and production companies and 9 oilfield service companies brought more than $1 billion of debt to court. Multi-billion-dollar bankruptcies cases were filed by Chesapeake Energy, $11.8 billion, Diamond Offshore Drilling, $11.8 billion, and California Resources, $6.3 billion. Ultra Petroleum filed for its second bankruptcy in 5 years, bringing $5.6 billion to court. One of the biggest companies that also filed for bankruptcy in 2020 and now are still in court in 2023 was Mesquite Energy, formerly Sanchez Energy, and they emerged from bankruptcy in 2020. However, that case is currently in court right now with creditors basically fighting for the scraps of what is left from Mesquite Energy and trying to sort of regain any of the money they possibly can. This is coming at a time when car companies are investing more and more money into EVs, more than what we've ever seen in history. In addition to that, even companies like Shell, BP, oil companies are beginning to see the future. They're investing more into electric car chargers, into solar farms, into battery energy storage. The world's moving away from oil and gas, and bankruptcies are only going to follow. Thanks for watching.